Carl Berry with Community Care Resource Council. I am excited today to tell you I'm sitting here with one of the most well-known community leaders in all of Dallas and Fort Worth, maybe even Texas. And right now, we want you to understand why and how this young man is so important. Travis, I'm glad you're here, brother.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here always.
I want to start off. Travis just finished publishing a book, Creating Monsters and Raising Champions. And I want to start with the latter part of that book, because what do we tell people? Can we show people that helps build strong families?
Indeed. One of my chapters in the book is called Scarred from the Start. That has to do with the wrong people being together in the first place. And they saw all the red flags prior to, but they did it anyway. So making sure, like the Bible requires of us, that we are equally yoked in what we believe, equally yoked in how we're going to raise children, equally yoked in how we're going to discipline, how we're going to make money, what we're going to teach those children, how we're going to exist as a family. So things centered around building strong families such as these. Being around the dinner table several times a week. So there's dialogue that's going on between the parents, between the children. It's part of where the kids get a chance to learn mediation skills. They may bring up a subject matter that happened at school or happened between the siblings, and it's a good time to work those things out. But as you do it habitually, you're also teaching them to go to school and deal with problems at school and practice self-management and building their self-esteem. They can also be included in the planning of activities for the family, building strong prayer time, seeing their parents come to prayer when they're having issues. And then when God answers that prayer, go back and thank him for what he's already done. Fathers being engaged. God had a purpose in mind when he wanted a mother and a father in the life of those children. We bring different gifts to the table, and those kids need both. Fathers are not great at teaching girls how to be women, and women are not great at teaching boys how to be men, and that's why God put the two in place. Building strong character, building integrity and honor, teaching kids about how to have compassion and charity, hard work. All of those things play a part in building strong families.
So let me ask you this then, because you talked about the problems if the two wrong people get together and they create kids that's having trouble. My question simply is this: what are we seeing that's destroying these families and these kids? What's going on in our community?
Okay. Obviously, single-parent families where the mother's raising children, and in particular African-American children, because we're talking about 72% of our children that are being raised by a single parent. Then there are the absent, neglectful, abusive fathers, those that commit those abuses sexually, physically, and emotionally. And we're not just talking about damage that is being done to the current children. We're talking about generational damage, because what ends up happening is when kids see patterns over time, not only do they conform to that pattern when they have their own families, they take it to the second power. And then when you think about those single moms who are maybe having to work 1, 2, and 3 jobs, therefore, those kids are at home having to raise themselves. And we can only imagine what they're being exposed to in terms of social media, on television, what Hollywood is putting out in the sitcoms, all the immorality, the sexual immorality that is coming out, even in commercials. And our kids are looking at that, and then when they're having issues with their families, they're looking for someone that will conform to whatever they're thinking at that time. Maybe that child is angry with their parent because they didn't let them go to a party. Well, the first thing they can find is a predator waiting online to appease whatever they need at that moment. Next thing we know, those kids may be involved in human and sex trafficking just because they thought they have found someone that has the answer to their problem.
Well, you and I have been talking about going on the road, and we're getting ready to tour CCRC along with Travis. It's going to be touring a 90-mile radius of Dallas and Fort Worth, coming to a rec center, a library, a church near you. Not going to be huge crowds that you fight with, because we want to have one-on-one confrontation with you. But here's the deal. Some of our kids are already too far down the line and going the wrong road. Can that be corrected, or are we just lost out and we got to start with the brand new ones?
First of all, they're children created by God, so therefore there's always hope. The reality is it's very difficult. You know, I'm a life coach and I work with teenage boys and young adult men. And sometimes a parent will call me up hearing about my 40 years of working with aggressive and violent kids and the impact we've had statewide, wanted to know if we can serve that particular child. Most of the times I can, as difficult as they may be going through at that time. However, there's every now and then when those kids are not ready for counsel. They're just in a state of mind to where they're disrespectful to even their own parents. They're having incidents at school. There's a pattern of behavior going on with the kids. And what often happens, Carl, is those patterns have been set by those parents. And unfortunately, those parents are now looking for answers to problems they're the ones that caused. And that gets more difficult at times, but I believe there's hope with most kids. And I've seen success on many, many levels.
I'm going to get in trouble here, but one of the things that we at Community Care Resource Council know, not that we believe, but we're sure that, yes, the social media is a problem. Yes, the music is a problem. But the truth of the matter is sometimes the problem originates from a parent or guardian. And the problem is, and it's not just the black community, 61% of the white community are single-parent homes. So it's not a racially motivated situation. It's everybody's problem. The thing is, though, what are we going to do about it? Where are we going to fix it? I know you're having some great success because I've set you up with a number of kids. What's going on with these kids and how is it working?
They are unsupervised, unsupported, unencouraged, living in homes where they don't feel valued. And then when you get the absentee parents, for whatever reason, maybe the father's overworking, building that nest egg, and yet not spending time of engagement with those children. We've got to monitor everything these kids are doing. I mean, starting at elementary school, even before that, because I watched a kid one day that was 3 years old, had no idea what a cell phone was, and they let that kid have that cell phone for a few minutes. Next thing we could see, that kid was already going into websites on that phone, which means that mind was already clicking. Parents have got to monitor their cell phones, electronic devices, what they see on TV, what they have access to all the time. We did that, my wife and I, with our children, and we're talking about the last generation. And yet we found stuff that shouldn't have been there. But ironically, we found it and we were able to intervene, and we did some things that truly made a difference with our kids. We cannot allow our kids to go unsupervised in any way under today's circumstances, given that we have 1,000 predators out there trying to lure them in.
Tell me about prevention, correction, and how kids that kill get started.
Yes, sir. Abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, beaten up over time, not a isolated occurrence. A real good example would be a kid who is raised by two parents that he's in love with the first 8-9 years of his life. And then all of a sudden, the parents divorce, and it is a bitter divorce. And the kid sees the fighting going on between the parents. Well, shortly afterwards, that kid had a beautiful relationship with the mom after the father left. The father grows bitter now because child support has been filed on him. In all of that, the mother ends up with a boyfriend. The boyfriend doesn't like the kid. And the boyfriend now begins to consume the time of the mother where the kid used to have the mother's time. As a result, he grows more isolated, distant from the mom, don't see the same value that the mom had in him. And then maybe the boyfriend or the new person in the family treats him with indignity and disrespect. Well, he's isolated at home. He's isolated from his father, all his maternal, paternal folks that are supposed to be there. Then he goes to school. Many times he's an oddball, disassociated within his social groups at school, doesn't play sports. And then he goes on social media and gets radicalized. And as a result of being radicalized for whatever he's looking for, whether it's learning how to shoot an AK, whether it's skinheads, whatever it is. And then the next thing you know, that kid is beginning to be conformed to whatever that thinking is. And remember, many of the kids who commit these mass murders are not minority kids. These are white kids. And they're not poor kids. They're coming from middle-income families at minimum. You have to have some money to go buy an AK or an AR. And then you get the bullets to go with it. And then you get the training to go with it. You're spending a lot of money. And then you put all of that combination together, you have a kid that is capable of being a time bomb and can go and commit the mass murders that we're seeing in society.
Wow. You know, we recently have had some real traumatic situations in Texas, here in Dallas. I know there was a school out in Lancaster. We all know that recently there was, within the last few days, an incident in Minnesota where people